We thought it would be interesting to find out what motoring law says about driving along closed roads. And here's motoring legal expert Jeanette Miller joining us now. Hello, Jeanette.
Good morning, Neil.
Okay, so if you see a road closed sign put up in front of a road, are you allowed to pass it?
No. In short, there could be a number of reasons for the road closed sign being erected. If it's for an emergency such as a flood, then it'll be a temporary road sign, and to ignore it, you do so at your peril. There is legislation under the Road Traffic Act, specifically Section 36, which states that it is an offence to drive or to ignore a traffic sign, providing a number of conditions have been complied with. And when it's a temporary sign, then the driver could be liable to a fine only. If it's a permanent sign, or if it's a sign that's been erected under other regulations, then you could be subject to an endorsement on your licence, so points on your licence.
No, but this was a temporary sign. I think it had been it had been in for a number of days actually. So I think most locals knew about the road closure. But if you lived in Alfriston, perhaps would you have been able to use it for access only?
It really does depend on exactly what procedures had been put in place or complied with by the local authority, if it was the local authority that erected the sign. Signage law is a bit of a minefield, to be honest, so to comment on it without knowing the specifics of exactly what led to the sign being erected is a little bit difficult. I suspect that locals may well have chosen to ignore it if they felt that the sign was unnecessary, or if perhaps the worst of the emergency that caused the sign to be put up in the first place had passed. But until a sign has been taken down, then strictly speaking, you're required to comply with it.
And another what if for you, and finally, Jeanette, because I know this is quite a tricky sort of area here. If you go past a road closed sign and say you've got proper insurance on your car, but you're in a road closed area and you have an accident, would you be covered on your insurance?
You should be. You should always check the small print of every insurance policy, because people do make the mistake a lot of the time to say that, well, I'm insured, so that's that. But there's all sorts of exclusions that could apply to individual policies. They're not all the same. Same goes for when people say, well, I'm covered to fully comped, so I should be able to drive any car. Not necessarily the case. So always check the small print, and this particular driver's small print needs to be checked to see whether or not they are insured, but I suspect they would be.
Okay. Jeanette, thanks very much indeed. Jeanette Miller, motoring legal expert here at BBC Sussex. After 8 o'clock on the programme, we're going to be talking to one of the shopkeepers in Alfriston, who is going to talk about the impact that road closure has had on the village. It's